Hey guys, we are back here. Guess what? This is our last lesson. Yay! Which is really exciting. We are on lesson 20 in our coach book. We are also on page 120 if you wanted to follow along. And we are finishing up the last one of our study guides. Every ecosystem includes many kinds of animals and plants. Although they are different from one another in many ways, living things are connected. They depend on one another to survive. They also depend on the non-living things in their ecosystem. If one thing changes in an ecosystem, many other parts of that ecosystem may also change. When things interact, they come in contact with and affect one another. Living things interact with other living things and non-living things in their ecosystem. For example, living things taking grass from the air in their ecosystem. Plants and animals depend on the air and each other in the grasses they need. When you breathe in, your body takes in oxygen gas. When you breathe out, your body gives off another gas called carbon dioxide. All animals take in oxygen and give off carbon dioxide. You've learned in lesson 18 that plants need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Plants use carbon dioxide and water along with the energy from the sunlight to make their own food. They take in carbon dioxide and give off oxygen as waste. The diagram below shows how animals and plants depend on one another for the gases that they need. So plants give off oxygen. Oxygen is needed for animals. Animals give them off. However, plants need the carbon dioxide, and it's a cycle that continues. So let's look at this. Living things blank with other living things and non-living things in their ecosystem. So they living things blank with other living things. What do? And non-living things. What do? They depend on one another to survive, right? So living things depend on other living things and non-living things in their ecosystem. Plants need blank that animals breathe out for photosynthesis. What do animals breathe out? What do animals breathe out? Carbon dioxide. For photosynthesis, animals need the blank that plants release. What do plants release? They release oxygen, food, water, living space, and sunlight are some of the blank that living things need to stay alive. Food, water, living space, and sunlight are some of the what are they? Resources, right? Or objects or materials. Okay. In an ecosystem, populations of living things interact to get resources. A resource is something that a living thing needs to stay alive. Food, water, living space, and sunlight are some important resources. In lesson 18 and 19, you learn how organisms are connected by their need for food and energy. Animals depend on plants for food to get their energy. Some animals eat plants, while other animals eat the animals that eat plants. Plants also provide shelter or a safe place to live for many animals. Some kinds of owls and woodpeckers find their shelters in holes in trees and cactuses. Squirrels and many birds build nests in trees. Some birds make nests in tall grasses. Spiders and many kinds of insects live among fallen leaves. Some insects live under the bark of trees. Animals depend on plants, but plants also depend on animals. Animals provide nutrients that plants need. Plants get nutrients from soil. Recall, the decomposers break down animal waste and the bodies of dead animals. Nutrients are added to soil. So we'll come back to this part right here. And it says, plants provide food and blank for animals. Plants provide what? Food and right there, shelter for animals. Blank breaks down animal waste and bodies of dead animals into the nutrients that plants need. So, animals depend on plants, but plants also depend on animals. Animals provide nutrients that plants need. Plants get the nutrients from the soils. Recall that when a decomposer breaks down animal waste, the bodies of dead animals, nutrients are added for soil. So blanks break down animal waste and the bodies of dead animals and nutrients that plants are. What are they? So decomposers break down animal waste and dead bodies into the nutrients. Some animals spread blank and carry seeds to new places. They will have room to grow. So let's go down here. As you learn in chapter 14, all living things reproduce or make more living things of the same kind. Animals help many kinds of plants reproduce. Some kinds of insects, birds, and bats spread pollen when they feed on a plant. Pollen is a powdery material that lets plants make new seeds from which new plants grow. To form seeds, pollen must be carried from flower to flower. Bees are one group of animals that spread pollen. Flowers contain a sweet liquid called nectar. When a bee feeds on a nectar in a flower, pollen in the flower sticks to the bee's body. The bee spreads the pollen when it lands on another flower. Because plants cannot move, many depend on animals to carry their seeds away. If all of the seeds stayed near the parent plants, the new plants that sprout would not have enough space or resources. Some plants make seeds that have burrs or hooks on them. When animals brush against these plants, the hooks stick into the animal's fur. The animals carry the seeds until they drop off in new places. Other plants produce seeds inside sweet fruits. When animals eat the fruits, the seeds pass through the animals' bodies. The seeds fall to the ground in the animals' droppings. So, some animals spread blank and carry seeds to new places where they have room to grow. So, some animals spreads, besides seeds, what do they spread? Pollen. And carry seeds to new places where they have room to grow. Changes that affect plants affect animals, and changes that affect animals affect plants because they blank on each other. So changes in a plant affect the animal. Changes in the animal affect the plant because what do? They rely or depend. I'm going to put depend, but I will also take rely. Predators are animals that blank. We're going to turn the page to 122. Animals also gather some seeds for food. When squirrels collect acorns, they eat some, but many others are forgotten. If conditions are right, these acorns grow into new oak trees. While plants depend on animals to help their seeds grow, the animals get energy by eating plant seeds and fruits. Because plants and animals depend on each other, changes that affect plants also affect animals. For example, if trees in a forest are cut down, birds and insects lose their shelter. Changes that affect animals can affect plants. 2. If a disease kills many bees in an area, plants may not be able to make seeds. Predators and prey. Animals' instincts with other animals, mainly to get food. Animals that hunt each other animals are called predators. Animals that are hunted are called prey. For example, hawks are predators that hunt and eat small animals such as mice and rabbits. The mice and rabbits are the hawk's prey. A predator population and prey population are connected. A change in one population affects the other. When the prey population is large, there is a lot of food for the predators. They also are well fed and have many babies, so the predators' population gets larger. When there are more predators, they eat more prey, so the prey population gets smaller. When there is less food for the decomposers, some predators cannot find enough to eat. They leave the area or die. The predator population gets smaller. When there are few predators, they eat less prey. Then the prey population grows large again. The two populations get large and small in a pattern that repeats. The graph below shows the population of lynx and the snowshoe hares in Canada affect each other. The lynx is the predator and the snowshoe hare is the prey. So when one's low, one is high, then one gets low, the other one will grow. So if there's more prey, your predators are up. The less prey, your predators are down. So you're going to think about it. I mean, if there's not a lot of food, something's going to happen. And you'll notice the biggest spike here. So you'll notice there was a lot of prey. There was a lot, during a good significant time, the predators were down. And then all of a sudden the predators picked up and we saw a massive decline in our prey. So they correspond to one another. Okay. Competition in an ecosystem. Living things compete for resources. To compete means to try to get something that others need or want. The demand for a resource by two or more organisms is called a competition. Many members of different populations often compete for resources. For example, both deer and squirrels eat the acorns that fall from oak trees. Dandelions and grass plants compete for space in a lawn. Hawks and owls and snakes all compete for mice. Members of the same population also compete for resources. Competing populations are connected and can affect each other. If one animal or group gets too much of a resource, there may not be enough left for the other competing animal or group. Some members of the other group may die. Suppose the owls in a forest catch more mice than the hawks or snakes do. Then the owls will survive than the hawks or snakes. So more owls are going to survive if they catch more prey. So when we turn back and we look over here, predators are animals that blank each other. Predators do what? Predators are animals that hunt each other, known as prey. The populations of blank and prey are connected. So the populations of predator and prey are connected. So the population of the predator and prey are connected. More predators means they eat more prey. So the population of prey blank making less food. So more predators means they eat more prey. So the population of prey blank making less food. So the more predators gets larger, the more predators, they eat more prey. So the prey population gets smaller. There is less food for the predators. So if there's less food for those predators, they're going to have to move. So population of prey blank less food. More predators mean more prey, so the population of prey decrease, making less food for the predators. Less food for the predators means their population gets smaller because they either have to leave the area or they're either going to leave the area or they're going to die. The blank population can grow large. The blank population can grow large. The prey population can grow large. The populations continue to get smaller, larger and smaller in a blank that repeats. In a pattern that repeats. Members of different populations often blank for the same resources. Members of the same population compete for the same resources. If one blank gets too much resource, the other population may die. So if one population gets what? What's it going to get? If one, oh, I just gave you the answer. If one population gets too much, it could die. And last thing to do is look at our questions. Question number 1, what do plants give off into the air that animals need? Oxygen, carbon dioxide, pollen, or sunlight? Number 2, when animals breathe, they give off carbon dioxide. What happens to this gas? It becomes part of the soil. Plants use it for photosynthesis. Other animals use it to breathe, or predators compete for it. When animals give off carbon dioxide, what happens to it? Number 3, how do animals help plants reproduce? A, building nests in trees. B, by eating the leaves of plants. C, by adding nutrients to the soil. Or D, by spreading seeds. And question number 4, both deer and squirrels needing acorns for food is an example of A, reproducing, B, hunting, C, competition, or D, photosynthesis.